What's going on YouTube? My name is Jordan Fremgen, and if you don't know me, well, I've only got about 100 subs at the moment, so chances are you don't know me yet. But for real, if this is your first time, I'm a graphic designer and photographer, and today we're gonna redesign, reimagine a logo that I'm pretty sure everybody knows. That is the PlayStation logo. So let's get it. The PlayStation logo. So I figured, since I think the 5th generation is coming out this year, which is pretty awesome, but we've been looking at the same logo since the 90s pretty much, with minimal edits along the way. But regardless, I think it would be fun to mess around with it a little bit, see what we can come up with. But by doing this, I'm not saying that I can come up with something better than what already exists. And honestly, I don't think any designer could really come up with something to take this brand to the next level, just because they are so recognizable and their logo really does stand the test of time, and that's what a good logo should do. But yeah, let's just have some fun with it and see what we can come up with. Now, I've seen a lot of design videos on YouTube where people are redesigning logos and they're really doing them just like on the fly, off the top of their head, which I think is awesome, and I might do a video like that. But this brand is just so big, so recognizable, and so worthy of really taking my time to come up with something, study the brand, see what their values are, and come up with something really cool. So what I'm gonna do is show you 3 logos I designed right off the top and explain what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and why I decided not to go with them as my final product. Then we're gonna go back in time, and I'm gonna show you the whole design thinking process on how I came up with the logo that I think could really be a contender if PlayStation did decide to rebrand one day. Okay, so this is the first logo I came up with, and I do really like this logo, but there are a couple things that I'm not really stoked about. I don't know if you guys can see what I saw, but I used the iconic symbols on the PlayStation controller, the square, the triangle, the circle, and the X, and I just manipulated them to actually spell the word play. And I overlapped them in the way that kind of made it more iconic. Now, I do really like this logo, like I said, but funny enough, I was researching just some different things about PlayStation, and I stumbled across another designer who decided to rebrand PlayStation and came up with something very similar. So as soon as I saw that, I kind of just wanted to let them have it. They put their logo out there first. I didn't want anybody to say that I ripped this person off, because I honestly didn't. We were just both in the same headspace and thought of something very similar. But honestly, I think that they did a better job than I did, and so I want to let them have it. They did a great job, and so that is the main reason why I didn't pursue this one. Here's the second logo I came up with, and I'm not too excited about this one. It is interesting, but I just don't think it would stand the test of time, and it is a little hard to make out what's going on here. But I've got the letter P here, and I used the iconic buttons that we know on the controller, the cross buttons you see here inside the P. I also use these iconic shapes that we know of and see everywhere that are basically a logo in of themselves. And also I kind of just tucked the letter S underneath the letter P here. But with that being said, it's just really hard to see what's going on, and honestly, I just don't think it would fit in all the places that PlayStation does put their logo. So for that reason, I decided to discard this one too. And here's the third logo I came up with, which is very similar to what they currently have, just made with more of a blocky feel. And so I thought this was really cool because it kind of brings more of a modern vibe to it. Well, more like a modern meets 80s vibe to it. But with that being said, things come and go. And so this logo probably wouldn't be as cool 10 years from now. So I figured that probably wouldn't be the best one to pursue. And honestly, it looks like someone made this logo in Minecraft. And I've only played this game one time, but honestly, if this logo reminds me of one game when it should take me to a world of entertainment, I think that this wouldn't be the best pick for it. So that's why I decided to discard this one. And so let's get into the design process of what took me to the logo that I found to be the strongest of them all. So the very first thing I did when I decided to rebrand this logo was I went to Google and I searched PlayStation values. And check this out. So we got their values here. Click on this link, and if we scroll down, we see Sony's purpose. So that's to fill the world with emotion through the power of creativity and technology. And then their values were dreams and curiosity, diversity, integrity and sincerity and sustainability. So the one that actually stood out to me the most was dreams and curiosity, more or less dreams, and you're gonna see why in a second. So I took that information and I went to my notebook and I wrote all this stuff down. I wrote the purpose: fill the world with emotion through the power of creativity and technology. Values. And then I actually just drew the one thing that comes to mind every time I think of PlayStation, and it is those 4 shapes that we know of: the triangle, the square, the circle, and the X. And then I just started drawing everything and anything that came to mind. And after going through a bunch of different things and seeing what I like and what I don't like, and seeing what worked and what didn't work, I finally came up with something that I really liked, and this is how I put it together. Okay, so jumping over to the Illustrator side, I'm gonna go over to Create New. I like to use a letter format here and set it to landscape to create my logos. It's just super simple. You can use any size artboard you want. So when I really started thinking about the PlayStation logo, and if they were to really rebrand, I would highly suggest that they keep some sort of part of their original logo just for that recognizable aspect if they were to change over. Because a brand like PlayStation would not want to come out with a whole new logo that's completely left field and different, because it just might turn off a lot of their fans. But if there's some sort of recognizable aspect to their original logo, it will be received better by the audience. And so I figured with that approach, I went online and I actually downloaded a vector version of the PlayStation logo as we know it now. But I don't want to use the entire thing, so I was thinking the most recognizable part is that letter P. So I'm going to go in here and just copy and paste that letter P to my artboard. And so we're going to work with this. I'm going to set this to black just to kind of make it easier on me. All right, so we're going to work with that. But then when I went back to my notes and I started looking at the values that PlayStation has, I went back to that one word that jumped out at me, which was dreams. And the imagery type of word that comes to mind when I think of this is cloud. So I figured it would be pretty cool if the letter P was floating on a cloud. So I was thinking about different ways I can create a cloud, and this is what I came up with. So I went back to my tools and I started working with circles. So I made 4 circles, turned them into a stroke only, duplicated them a couple times, and when I did this, I immediately thought of those PlayStation buttons on the controller. I was like, this looks just like the PlayStation buttons. So I started getting some more ideas, and this is what I did to pursue them. So first things first, I do want to have some sort of letter S to this logo, because a P by itself just wouldn't be enough to sell the word PlayStation. So I took these 2 circles here and started making an S out of them. And I want to use the scissors tool to kind of cut out the parts that I don't need to create an S. So I'm going to use this point here and this point, delete this section, use the scissors over here, same with these 2 points, cut that out and delete it. Now we simply have an S. Super simple. So let's bring these 2 circles back down, align them, let's center them with the S there. And I think the first thing I'm gonna do is actually thicken these up quite a bit, because the letter P is pretty thick. Let's boost this up to 20 is good. So in order to turn this into a cloud, I'm gonna rework these circles here to kind of connect with this letter S and make a full-on cloud. So I'm gonna work this a little bit. All right, that's starting to look like a cloud a little bit, but I just don't like how it just boxes off at the end of each section. So I wanted to mess with the stroke a little bit and see what we can come up with. So I went over to Window, dropped down to Stroke, opened up that window, and I started going over to the rounded edges, and I just didn't think that worked well, so I went down to Profile, and I'm gonna try this here. And I do like that, but we gotta reverse these 2, so. Okay, that's pretty cool, but these popping out here just don't look very good, so what we're gonna do is copy this. I'm gonna paste this off to the side here so I don't lose it if I need to go back to it. And then we're gonna outline this stroke. Now that we did that, I'm gonna erase these top parts here so that it looks like they're kind of blending in with the S. All right, and I think that looks pretty good. So now that we got this cloud formation, I'm just gonna merge this down with the Pathfinder tool and bring it on over to my letter P over here. So as I overlay it, obviously that doesn't look very good, and so we need to cut out part of this P so that it kind of blends well. So the first thing I tried was just kind of extending this up a little bit. And after doing that, I didn't love it. I wanted to create some space there, so just kind of positioned this where I wanted to, and when I want to cut out something perfectly to create some space, this is how I do it. So I'm going to copy this cloud here, and I'm going to paste it exactly in place. So Command-Shift-V will paste in the exact same space, and I'm going to turn this into a stroke. So turn this into white for now and increase that stroke. We'll start with 10. I'm gonna send this behind the cloud here so we can see how it's working for us, and so you can kind of get an image of what this is gonna look like before you actually apply it. So I think I'm gonna boost this up to about 20. Scoot this up a tiny bit there. And since I kind of like that, I kind of like how it's working, this is how I'm gonna apply it. So I'm gonna cut this out for now. It's still saved, which I just cut it out. And so I'm gonna turn this into an outline, and then I'm gonna apply this to the letter P. So grab both of those, use the Pathfinder tool. So minus front is what we're gonna use. Now you got that perfect cutout. Command-Shift-V will paste that cloud that we just cut out. And so that looks pretty cool. We got letter P floating on a cloud, looks pretty good. But like I said, these circles kind of look like buttons. So why don't we put those iconic symbols in there and see how this looks. So now that we got our shapes, let's put them in place. So we got the triangle on top. Actually, I think it's gonna be a little too big. So let's shrink this down a little bit. Let's try that. Should work. We got the circle. So you wanna make sure everything's lined up perfectly. Everything's centered. Got the square. The X. All right. So this is basically the logo I came up with, but I figured let's try to mess with it a little bit more. I know that they represent their logo with a blue color, so let's check out what kind of blue we can make. That's about right for now. And then I know that they have all those colors, that multicolored logo, so let's go back over here, grab this logo, and just paste it over here for a second and see how we can work with this. So I know that the letter P is red, so we'll do that. And we've got all these other colors, so make that green maybe. You know what, it'd be really cool if this was a gradient. So let's go back for a second and turn this into a gradient. So I'm gonna grab this, open up our gradient window here. Where is it? And this is basically what I came up with. And so I really like it. I like how it plays out. I love how it kind of goes along with their values too. You can see the letter P, you can see the letter S, and it just has a new feel, but something recognizable as well. And so to finish this off, I actually created some mock-ups so you can kind of get a feel for what it would look like in the scenario that they would actually use it and where you currently see the PlayStation logo now. So check out those mock-ups right here. All right, well that about sums things up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit like, subscribe if you aren't already. If you hit that bell, you'll be notified when I do upload. And yeah, make sure you drop some comments. Let me know what your favorite logo was. If it wasn't this final one and it was a previous one, let me know. I'd love to know. I'd love to know why. If there's anything you would do differently, lay it on me. I won't take anything personal. So I just want this to be a design community where you can share your thoughts. Either way, I'll catch you guys later. Be good. Peace.